So a lot of people have asked me, for my playlists in the past. If you're a close enough friend of mine, or if you're anywhere in my circle, then you know that my playlists be lit. And I've already told you guys that my playlist be rocking, okay? But people always give me a very weird look when I point out the fact that I only listen to gospel. And they're like, Ashley, how can your playlist be lit if you only listen to gospel? Guys, gospel music is top tier, okay? Gospel music is top tier, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, I wanted to really explain to you guys why I made the decision to stop listening to secular music, okay? So we're gonna be diving a little bit into why I think secular music is dangerous, why I made the decision not to listen to it, and here's why I said that this topic is controversial. Because let's be honest, not all secular music is bad music. And I say that in the context of we have some very conscious music, especially here in Jamaica. We have a few artists that would fall probably under the reggae category that I wouldn't necessarily say their music is bad. It's very conscious in nature. However, if we are to look at the root or the background for either some of these artists or some of these musics, then we would really start to think about what it is that we listen to, why we listen to these things, and whether or not we should be listening to these things. So for this video, we're just gonna dive into a little bit of my thoughts on the topic that I thought that I should share with you guys, or maybe that God wants me to share with you guys. All right, so stay tuned, guys.
Classic.
Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley for those of you who are new here, and if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back and for rocking with me while we navigate this Christian journey in a fun way. So today we are going to be talking about something that might be a little bit controversial. And here's why it's controversial: because we are going to be talking about music today, in particular secular music. Okay, so as believers, we know that it is very important for us to be mindful of the things that we allow to enter into our hearts and into our minds, right? In Philippians, it tells us that whatever things are lovely, whatever things are pure, whatever things are of a sound mind, those are the types of things that we should think on, right? So God has clearly stated that it is very important to be careful of the things that we are taking into our hearts. And like I said before, not all secular music is harmful, right? But we have to realize that not all music was created equal, right? So even though it might not be harmful, there might be some messages in it subliminally that we need to take mind of. So the root word for entertainment is enter, clearly. So first of all, the first thing that says to me is that if we're listening to, or if we're paying attention to entertainment, it means that we need to be paying attention to what it is that we are allowing to enter our minds. I remember back in high school, I did a play that was titled Guard Your Heart, and that was one of the key points or main points that we brought out in the play, that a lot of times, guys, my tongue is still not 100%, but a lot of times the things that influence the way we behave is because of the type of entertainment that we take in, whether it's be movies, music, plays, the conversations that we have, whatever the case is. We have to be mindful of the fact that entertainment was made to enter our minds, and a lot of times it enters into our subconscious mind. Now, for those of you who are biblical scholars, or maybe not, but we are aware that when the enemy, Satan, was in heaven, he was created as he was put in charge of music, right? So if we want to really think about it, Satan knows the ins and outs of music, right? Like, that is the one thing he knows how to properly manipulate. Like, ain't no question about it. He knows how to use music to control us, right? And if it is that Satan is the one who was, really put in charge of music, and he is the author of secular music, then why is it that we want to be listening to secular music? Like, the fact that Satan is the author of secular music, and let's define secular music, guys. So secular music is anything that is not spiritual in nature, doesn't bring praises to God, does not have anything to do with heaven's mindset or biblical morality or practices, right? So like I said, not all secular music is bad. However, the fact of the matter is Satan is the author of secular music. And let me just say this, I am aware too that there are some gospel songs that may have some satanic connotations, okay? But that's for a whole other video, guys. We're not gonna even go into that today. Today we're just gonna focus on the secular music. So let me just put a disclaimer out there, right? I was very deep in the hip-hop, R&B, souls culture, right? I had a playlist for everything under the sun, every mood under the sun, kind of like I do now, just with a different twist, right? But I used to like Rihanna. That's my girl. Let me just confess, I did watch her Super Bowl performance because I loved Rihanna, okay? Beyonce, I loved Beyonce. But somewhere along the lines of Lemonade, I was like, yeah, I think we should let that go. I think that was really around the time where I really started thinking about the type of influences that music was having on my life, because I used to really look at some of the songs and Google like the subliminal messages to some of the songs, and I really was like, actually, what are you listening to? Like, what you really are listening? Like, you realize what you're listening to? Guys, Rihanna. Oh my goodness. If you look at the subliminal messages in half of Rihanna's songs, crazy, mind-blowing. Yeah. So one of the major dangers, one of the now I can't say it again. One of the major dangers with secular music is the fact that it glorifies explicit content. Now, if you really take a look at most of the songs in these different genres, you're gonna see that it's gonna talk a lot about sexual activities, it's gonna talk about sex, it's gonna talk about violence, it's gonna talk about just negative behaviors that are so far from the biblical standards that as Christians we should be exemplifying, right? In the Jamaican context, when we look at some of these dancehall songs, well, not even in Jamaica, because if we take a look at R&B as well, it's really not that much different. The fact or how they just degrade women in such a way that it sick my stomach. Like, guys, it's a trigger for me. See, even my voice don't even want to talk about it, but like, honestly, it's a trigger when I look at how they talk about women. And I always wonder if the women in dancehall don't realize the things that my dance and gyrate to. Like, girl, they're literally talking down on you. Why are you whining and dancing? Like, girl, get up. It's traumatizing, to say the least. But apart from how sickening this demoralization is, it's just the fact that these songs are leading us away from God's will for our lives. God strongly speaks out against sexual activities before marriage, even against certain sexual activities that some of these songs are promoting, right? God wants us to be pure, right? If a song is telling you to commit one of the to do one of the things that are in the 10 Commandments, like Why would you want to sit and listen to this song and then people are going to be justifying it to say,
oh, it's just a song, it not affect my mindset?
Can we just sit and look at the statistics? Like, most of the things that are happening in our society today, I would want to say is a direct correlation. There's a direct correlation between their activities and the music that these people are listening to. Let's not talk about even the young people. Like, if we look at the age of people who are committing certain crimes these days, it's majority young people. And what are these young people feeding themselves on? Entertainment. Like, the society these days, it's all TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, Netflix, and what are the things that we are watching? Nothing that is edifying our minds or drawing us closer to Christ. So clearly we can see that this music is not helping us. Like, we're focusing on music today, guys. I'm not even gonna talk about movies and the books we read. Like, I've told you guys how books have messed with my mind, right? It's just the fact that these things are literally encouraging us to do things that are so far from God, what God is calling us to be as his children, that I'm still shocked that I used to listen to some of these things. Like, girl. Anyway, so another negative factor of secular music is the fact that it focuses so heavily on consumerism and materialism. So a lot of these songs are telling us that we need to have the biggest house or the flashiest car. We need to have enough gal in a bungle. We need to have many men, you know, we gotta have the riches and the wealth and the prosperity. And I'm not saying that that is necessarily a bad thing, because God is calling us to prosper in this world. We are supposed to occupy until he comes, and he wants us to be able to live comfortably and help others. So God isn't saying that we're supposed to live a poor and pauperized life. However, God calls us to humility. He calls us to live a life that is going to reflect his love and his humility. He calls us to a life that is dependent on him to provide for us, a life so filled with faith that we are not going to be dependent on having all the riches in our bank account in order to survive in this life, because at the end of the day, God is the one who's going to provide this money. It doesn't matter how many jobs we work, it doesn't matter how many friends we have, how many parties or social events we can attend. What matters at the end of the day is that God is the one who is sustaining us. And if these songs are encouraging us that, hey, this is the type of lifestyle that we're going to live, or that we're supposed to live, then what's going to happen? We're not going to be content with the life that God is calling us to live. And the life God calls us to live is one that is humble. A life that is focused on being faithful to God and giving back to others. Not trying to earn all the worldly success. Not trying to be on top of all the social ladders and, you know, be on top of the economy and you know, all of that things. But he's calling us to just live a life that reflects his love to others, and to be able to just be satisfied, be content with what he has given us. Yes, we are to try and achieve success, but not to the extent that these songs are telling us that, you know, if you're not rich by 28 or by 30, then you're not living a successful life. Because at the end of the day, we all have our different paths, we all have our different lives to live. And if it is a case where you don't feel satisfied with the life that you have right now, it might be a case that you are filling your mind with things that are telling you that you should be at a certain spot right now. And maybe that's something you need to reevaluate. Because if you're not content with yourself, or you're not content with what God has given you right now, then that's a problem, sis. Another issue that I found with secular music is the negative impact that it has on our spiritual morals and values. So when we are listening to songs that are filled with promiscuity and violence and drugs and money and all these things that are just infesting our minds, what we start to do is to second guess the things that God says in his word. And God is not going to contradict himself. So if he is telling us that we are supposed to live a certain moral lifestyle, then he's not going to be telling us to listen to songs that are going against what he says. So we have to really sit and think about, is this music bringing me closer to God? Is it encouraging me to dive deeper into his word and to live at a certain standard? Or is it encouraging me to engage in worldly activities? Is it encouraging me to second guess my faith, to second guess the commandments that God has given to us? Is this music encouraging me to live a life that is going to get me into heaven, or a life that is going to draw others to Christ? What are the things that I feel encouraged to do after I listen to certain music? Those are some of the things that we really have to ask ourselves. And if we sit and think about it, lots of these songs have embedded in them the beliefs and practices of the artists. Now, let's break down how the music industry works, right? So we already know that the originator of music, or of secular music, is the enemy. But a lot of times songs go through a writer and then an artist before they go out into the world. So a lot of times the people who sing these songs are not the writers. So lots of the times these artists are singing somebody else's composition completely. So the music might not be theirs and the words might not be theirs. So let's think about how many people's beliefs and thoughts might go into a song before it actually gets to our ears. And like I said, if you look at some of the subliminal messages behind some of these songs, then you would realize that the surface lyrics that we sing and enjoy is not really the message that is behind the song, because the enemy has polluted the minds of all the people who are in this song process, that by the time they get to us, he has crafted it in such a way that it's gonna sound like wonderful music to us. Like I said, I loved Rihanna, I loved Beyonce, I loved R&B, hip-hop. Like all of these artists, I used to sit and listen to them. I used to be on top of my music game. Like as an album drop, I actually know all of the song them. Even if I don't know all the lyrics, I know the song. I can tell you, say, yeah, Sam Smith new album this. I was on top of my game. But then I realized that a lot of the things that I was listening to were not things that I actually believed. And then when I went and did some deep dive research, I realized that these people were so beautifully covering up the negative messages that they wanted to pass on to me that I was just so oblivious. Like me sit down as they sing and I listen to songs about homosexuality and premarital sex and taking drugs to numb the pain and all these things, and me never did a meds that the people that must send me forgot out. Like, and that leads into my next point. Secular music has such a negative impact on our mental health. Now guys, I have mentioned it before that I have battled with depression and anxiety, and I'm saying I'm putting it in past tense as me speaking it out into the atmosphere, right? I'm claiming past tense. But guys, back then my depression and anxiety was 100 times worse, because I was listening to songs that was feeding my negative mindset. And Proverbs says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if I am sitting and dwelling on these guys, Adele writes her best music after she got through a breakup. So what I tell you, the lady is clearly depressed and going through a hard time, and she writes these songs, and then me sit down and take up this depressing music when me already probably sad, and say, oh, I'm gonna listen to this sad song to help me feel better.
What?
How that even makes sense? Like, I don't know how that made sense in my brain. How am I gonna listen to a sad song to make me feel better when I'm already sad? Like, what? Anyways, a lot of the other songs that I used to listen to were, like I said, songs that were promoting, alternative methods of dealing with negative thoughts. That's not like prayer and probably healthy medicine. Yeah, those type of songs were just not helping me at all. And I don't understand how it is that we think that if we sit and listen to these depressive songs, they are gonna help us or make us any better. And let me just point out to you guys, music, a lot of music is really like a purr, right? Remember I said that the root word of entertainment is enter. So if music is a purr, let's think about who it is that these songs are making us pray to. The Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue. So if we are praying prayers that are not directed to the King of Kings, then clearly we are asking the ruler of the dark universe to enter into our lives, and that is going to negatively affect not just our mental state, but how we live on a day-to-day basis. If we are continually singing these songs day in and day out, don't you think that we are going to be living these lifestyles? Don't you think that we are going to be embedding these messages into our subconscious minds, into our hearts, and eventually they are going to have a negative impact on the way that we think about ourselves and others, the world in general, or actions? It's gonna make us question whether or not we were truly made in the perfect image of God. Now, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to doubt the fact that I was made perfect? Excuse me. Why would I want to doubt that? Like, anyways, at the end of the day, I just want us all to remember what Matthew told us. At the end, we will all have to give account for every idle word that we speak. So what kind of words do you want to speak over your life? What kind of mindset do you want to embrace through the music that you listen to? God is calling us to a lifestyle that is set apart from anything that this world can offer. And if it is that we want to live according to this lifestyle, then all aspects of our life have to resemble the kind of lifestyle and mindset that God is calling us to. And clearly, that is going to include the one thing that all of us listen to on a daily basis. Like, there is no question about the fact that we all listen to music. Like, even in my car, the moment I go into my vehicle, I either plug in my phone so I can play my own music, or my radio is on NCU FM, because I want to make sure that at no point in time I am giving the enemy any chance to enter into my subconscious mind. Now, let's be very fair. We cannot 100% control everything that comes into our minds. I mean, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram occasionally, I mean, we go on YouTube. You know, a lot of times we're just scrolling and we come in contact with some of these secular music or negative content. But the powerful thing about these social media platforms is the fact that the algorithm studies us. Right now, all my For You pages or all my timelines are filled with either Christian content or something related to the lines of entrepreneurship or growing my YouTube platform or something of the nature. Because I am very specific in the type of things that I look for, the type of things that I like, the type of things that I spend more than 3 seconds looking at. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that everything that I do is going to be pleasing to the God that I serve, because I want to make sure that my life is a reflection of His, and that when I am speaking to other people, that I am reflecting Him to them. Because at the end of the day, I want to hear well done. Me no know about you, but at the end of the day, me just want to hear well done. And that is why I found it super important to guard my heart and my mind against the negative influences that the enemy is going to try to subtly slip into my life. And one of the areas that I found that I needed to do that was through the music that I listened to. So I hope you guys found some value in this video. I hope I said something that is at least going to let you do your own research into the music that you listen to and the background to some of these songs that we sing so often. But like I say to you at the end of every video, Jesus loves you, so our duty is to go out and live like it. Bye, beauties.
Ain't nobody stopping my shine. They try to break me, try to take me out, but I got Jesus on my side.